China's President Xi Jinping wishing President Biden a speedy recovery and his deepest sympathies for his COVID diagnosis. The sincerity of the Chinese should never be doubted. Xi has few sympathies and actually some harsh words for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi right now. Although Mr. Biden did give him a big win as it relates to Pelosi, so maybe that's why the sympathies are existing. Reports indicate Pelosi's planning a trip to Taiwan this summer. Here's the problem. China doesn't want her to go. The White House isn't okay with it yet. The Pentagon, we understand, at least according to President Biden, is advising against it. The only ones who really want her to go are the Taiwanese. In fact, the Chinese are threatening resolute and strong measures if she makes the trip. When asked, Pelosi dodged whether she'll change her mind.
I don't ever discuss my travel plans. It's a security issue. You never even hear me say if I'm going to London, because it is a security issue. And so I won't be discussing that now.
Dean Cheng, Senior Research Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, with us now. I can't quite get this, right? It comes out that Nancy Pelosi is going to stick her thumb in the eye of the Chinese, and you almost saw President Biden on the tarmac when he spoke about it, pulling her hand back.
Well, Harry Truman said the buck stops here. Joe Biden seems to believe the buck stops anywhere but here. So he comes out and he basically doesn't say, I don't want Nancy Pelosi to go. And he doesn't say, I like Nancy Pelosi to go. And he says, no, the military is uncomfortable with this, as though that will decide that General Milley or somebody else in the military is the one who should decide whether Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, should go to Taiwan.
So much for civilian control of the military, which used to be a principle around here. But hey, neither here nor there. Why would Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan, and clearly it looks like she was planning this trip, whether or not she goes through with it is a different question. What is the significance of that? Why are the Chinese so upset? And for as aggrieved as they're acting, if she went, is there anything they could really do?
So a couple of things here. One, she was planning on going, I believe, late last year and then came down with COVID. So the fact that she is talking about going should not come as a surprise, because it was certainly not even a secret late last fall that she was planning on going. Second of all, why would she go? She has made very clear throughout her career that she is not a fan of the Chinese Communist Party. She has been a very consistent critic of China, especially when it comes to human rights. And the Chinese are quite egregious in their violations of human rights. What could the Chinese do? Let's be serious. It's not like the Chinese are going to try and shoot her plane out of the sky or anything else like that. They will protest. They may affect her district in California, where she comes from, in terms of perhaps boycotting goods or things like that. They'll certainly file diplomatic protests. But at the end of the day, this is one of the realities. An American politician should be able to go anywhere in the world that they are welcome and invited without having to say, Mother may I, to the People's Republic of China.
Well, and you kind of wonder if President Biden would get anything in return for not, I guess not letting her go, but advising against it and making life more difficult. He doesn't really seem to be saying no to the Chinese about much. This caught our eye as well. China spent $6.1 billion on U.S. property last year, more than any other country. And we have to state that whether it's a Chinese national, a Chinese corporation, or China Inc. buying property in the United States, it all feeds back to the Communist Party in Beijing. Specifically, they're looking at some farmland that just happens to be next to a couple of very sensitive Air Force bases in North Dakota. The geography of them is probably not lost, correct?
Absolutely. So, although to be fair to the Chinese, they are a net importer of food. So it should not surprise us if they are buying farmland in order to try and lock in access to American food. But the fact that it happens to be very close to some of our major radar installations and missile fields, that's a bonus.
How much should we look at the Chinese at all in their sort of aggressive attacks on America, trying to get their tentacles into the food supply, into American manufacturers of computer chips, into American manufacturers of aviation and the like? How coordinated of an effort, I guess, would be the best way of saying it.
Is it a coordinated effort? Almost certainly. We have the Chinese talk about Made in China 2025. We have the Chinese talk about how they want to become self-sufficient in microchips, in farm equipment, in railroad technology. At the same time, though, it's important to also recognize where they are weak. So, for example, when it comes to microchips, for the most part, the most important logic chips are actually made either by the United States or its friends in Taiwan or South Korea. China is still pretty far behind. Now, when it comes to memory chips, which is more of a commodity, China is one of the world's largest producers. But we do ourselves no favors if we think the Chinese are 10 feet tall.
Yeah, well, it also seems as though we do ourselves no favors when we allow them to steal so much of our technology. That made in China 2025 doesn't have to be self-made. It just means to have to be stolen and then copied. Dean, it's always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great conversation.